All right, everyone, welcome to episode 7 of the Average Ontario Anglers podcast. And 7 is my favorite number, right, Andrew?
Apparently so.
So it's going to be a good episode. I have spoken. Anyway, this week is actually going to be a cool episode because we're going to have our Cancast overview, like what we experienced, what we bought, who we met. It's going to be pretty cool. And if you haven't heard of Cancast, or if you didn't get to go, it'll still be an interesting episode because we're going to talk about some of the new products and stuff and people that we got to meet. So we would like to thank, first of all, the AOA number 7 sponsor for the giveaway, and that's Randy at Creek Candy. And we actually bumped into him too at Cancast, and he handed me this bag and said, make this a giveaway on your podcast. And I looked inside the bag. It's full.
Loaded.
Tons of 20 bags of beads, 2 bead boxes.
There's enough stuff in here
for
two guys. So
or girls.
Or 2 girls, whoever.
Or one guy and one girl.
So share it with your buddy. Whoever your fishing buddy is that you want to get into, either get them into steelhead fishing or you already are on the creek side with them, share it with them or keep it for yourself.
Or be a wiener and keep it all for yourself. Either way, it's a really good giveaway. Amazing value. We'd like to thank Randy again. We like to pair up with companies that we ourselves have bought stuff from and used for years, and Creek Candy is one that definitely I have used for quite a while. But anyway, we did a story on our Instagram, and I said, ask us questions about Cancast. And they were such good questions that we're literally going to do this whole podcast just answering those questions and kind of going on, little tangents about stuff that we bought.
Thank you for making our job easier.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
You're now co-producers.
You get paid nothing because we don't get paid nothing.
Correct.
So we're going to start off, and a lot of the questions were very similar. So if we didn't answer your question specifically by name, it's because a whole bunch of different people asked the same question. So we're going to kind of start off, and we brought our big bags of loot. Now you can hear all that loot. And if you're watching us on YouTube, you're going to see it. We're going to be very descriptive, though. So
yeah, we're going to do our best to describe it, but this is a great point in the podcast. If you have the opportunity to either listen to it again but watch it on YouTube, or if you just would rather watch it on YouTube or whatnot, you can then see the baits that we're trying to describe, most likely in not giving them their due diligence.
Yeah, and we're going to post some of this stuff on our Instagram too. So if you don't follow our Instagram, definitely check that out. So the first question that we got was from 613 Bassin, and we met this guy, super nice guy.
And we're skipping our interesting fishing fact.
Oh.
Well, thanks a lot.
You know what we have?
It wasn't that interesting this week
The segment is the interesting fishing fact, and that is going to be done by the one and only Andrew, and I totally didn't forget. You passed the test. Good job. I better be super interested.
Okay, well, don't make it that exciting.
All right. And as usual, I give Andrew a number grade, and he gives me a letter grade. So
I think we switched multiple times, but I don't care.
I'm going to give you a grade of some kind. All right, go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about taxidermy. So
taxidermy.
I personally have never. I have a skin mount salmon that my neighbor gave me, cool. And he also gave me an old brook trout, which I gave to Jesse, which is hanging on the wall in front of us, and they look pretty decrepit.
Yeah, it's old.
They're old skin mounts. This one especially on the wall right here, the old brook trout. So nowadays, it's pretty common knowledge with taxidermy, where they have skin mounts, which have been around for a very long time, and they also have the replicas on a fiberglass mold.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you, Jesse, what would you prefer if you caught like a fish that you would actually want to have displayed in your home? Would you get a skin mount or would you get a replica?
Oh, a replica, 100%. They look way better and they last. Right?
They last.
Yeah.
And a big thing too is you can release that trophy fish back into the water.
Yeah.
So a little bit of history with replicas. They've been around since the 70s. Which I did not realize they've been doing them for that long. But that was generally for big billfish and saltwater.
Like fiberglass.
Fiberglass okay. Replicas. Wow. They've been doing from the 70s.
Wow.
Now, stuff like the old brook trout on the wall, that they actually used... I figured out what's inside of that thing. Because that thing weighs like 20 pounds. I lifted it up, I'm like, what the heck?
It's like a 6-pound fish, but it weighs 20 pounds.
So, it's... they would shape the fish out of clay, or whatever they're stuffing, and then wrap the skin around it.
Okay.
So that's most likely a clay base. I thought it was a lead brick for a long time.
It feels like it.
In more recent times, they went to styrofoam. They'd kind of have to sculpt it. Now they have the fiberglass forms that they'll order. They'll get one that's similar size to whatever fish you caught, and then paint that up. So it's not going to be an exact shape per se, but fish don't really change a whole lot with their looks and their shape, which is why it makes it effective. So I thought I'd mention what would you, or I wanted to ask you then, Jesse, what would you do if you're in the water and your goal is you've now caught you've broken 40 inches in your muskie and you want to get that one stuffed in your wall?
Okay.
What are you going to do in order to be able to get that mount made? What are the steps are you taking when you're in the boat? You just landed this fish. What are you doing next? Because I didn't know.
I guess I would guess that you'd have to take a butt ton of pictures, and definitely measure the length and girth.
Yep.
I don't know what else.
So there's a few different steps. This is steps from a taxidermist down in the States. So first of all, take 2 measurements. You want the full length and you want the girth, the widest part of the fish. That way, when they choose their form, they have multiple ones to choose from. They can get one that's most accurate. With the photos, you want to get... The main thing you're looking for in the photos is the fish's coloration, any spot pattern, unusual markings, so they can replicate that, so it looks just like the fish you caught. Take a close-up of the head with both wide and close-up shots of the body, and want to make sure that these photos that you're going to be showing to the taxidermist are of the fish. Don't care about how you look in the photo. Your goal is to make sure the fish photos are accurate. So those things there I thought would be kind of a good idea, because at some point I'd love to get a fish mounted if I ever get one. And the great thing with replicas is you could get it stuffed a year later. You don't have to get it done right away. So I can save up for it and like, hey, you know what? I'm going to save up $1,000 and get this one stuffed later. But those things, those steps, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to have in your mind, so that we're prepared if we happen to come across a trophy fish.
Which, we're average, so it might not happen, but that's cool. That's more of like an interesting fact for like, people that are like,
fine, give me the bad rating. Let's
no,
go.
like it wasn't like before and it's like something I'd never thought of, but it's good because it's interesting and it tells you something that you might keep in mind in case you ever get a mount done.
I would hate not to have the right information and then like not be able to get a proper mount done of a fish.
Yeah. It's like this 52-inch muskie, but it comes back and it's as thin as a snake. It's like,
all the photos are blurry. Like, I just took photos of the tail. It looked interesting.
I don't know. I'll give you a relevant interest rating of 7.8.
Hey,
that's not bad. Anyway, let's get back to Cancast.
I kind of phoned that one in anyways, so.
So as we said, we have a big bag. You can hear this. Whole bunch of stuff. And you know what? Unfortunately, I have a box with a bunch of muskie baits in it, and they're all tangled together. So if you hear me cursing and just rattling like lures together to try to get them apart, that's what that noise is. But we're going to go through some of these questions, and we're going to kind of like elaborate on some of the people that we met. Now, like, to start off, Cancast, it was April 2nd, which was 2 weekends ago, right?
Yep.
And unfortunately, Andrew actually...
From the state of recording, it's 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So Andrew actually lost his voice. He was talking so much. And my voice was pretty raw then. We were there from 8 a.m. We got in a little bit early.
We got in about an hour early.
And we were there till the thing shut down, basically.
Yeah.
And I remember Kyle Carruthers, the guy who ran the show, he saw us like right at the end, and he's like, "Are you guys still here?" And I was like, "Yeah."
And we were still buying stuff up to the end. I remember guys are packing up in the tackle shop area. I'm like running through trying to spend my last 20.
And honestly, I, except for being tired and losing our voices, I could have stayed there for another day. Honestly, there was so much that, like, we'd even scratched the surface of people that we could talk to, and it was so crowded, and like there's so much stuff to see. But we're going to talk about some of that now. So the first question that we're going to talk is 613 Basson, who we mentioned before. Guy's legit, super nice guy. We bumped into him and one of our other buddies, and his question was, what was your favorite part of Cancast?
For me, it was seeing some of the vendors I saw last year, and some of the guys where I met them last year for the first time, and then I started following them on Instagram. So guys like Hashimoto, guys like Dangle Baits, like Carson, like stuff like that was super cool to see them again, or just seeing people from that I saw last year that were just there. Like I know Adam and Ben from Paddleheads, they were there. So, we don't get to see them too often, but it's cool that you can kind of count on seeing those same guys there again, and it's feeling part of that community, which I know is what Kyle Carruthers really wants to do with Cancast, is create that community, and you feel it 100%. The second you're back, you feel it. So for me, I think it was like seeing the people that I was looking forward and excited to meet again.
And for me too, I think it was like seeing the people from last year, but also putting the face to the name, because like you talk to a lot of people on Instagram and social media and YouTube, and then when you finally meet them in real life, you're like, oh hey, like you're an actual person. That's cool.
So it was really cool too how many people we had come up to us, even asking to have photos with us or whatnot. Guys coming
weird.
out from London, and like, hey, you're the average Ontario anglers, and they're so excited to see us like we're celebrities, which we're not.
The farthest from. But yeah, it was pretty funny. The amount of people that would come up to us and be like, hey, how's it going? I know you guys from Instagram. It's like, oh, kind of makes you feel a bit weird, but nice. All these people that know you and you have no clue who they are. So if we talk to you and I didn't know your name, it's just because I only probably knew your Instagram name. I don't actually know your real name, so I apologize. But yeah, we talked to a lot of people.
Yeah. And a lot of the thing too, like people recognize us because we're an open account. But if someone's following us in their private account, they're going to know us. But again, we might not recognize you. Yeah. But we love being approached. Like if you see us around, it's awesome to hear that people are supportive of us or like our show, or like our content. It's exciting for us to hear.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And I think my other favorite part about Cancast was just like, I don't even know how to describe it, but just like the aura of fishing. You walk in there and it's just everything's fishing. There's no fluff, stupid booths full of stupid stuff that you don't want to see. Every single booth is fishing.
Yeah.
You walk in there and it's like, if you're like us, we're obsessed with fishing. I don't have any other hobbies. I don't watch sports. I don't play like Nintendo. Like all I do is fish. So when I go into a room that's all fishing, it's the best thing in the world for me.
I just need to interject here. When Jesse says he doesn't play Nintendo, he means any game console, because they're all called Nintendo to him.
They're all Nintendo. Stop playing Nintendo. No offense. Just kidding. You can play Nintendo, but you should also go fishing, because fishing is actually way better. Just saying. That's a fact. Anyway, next question. So yeah, there was a lot of favorite parts about Cancast, but we're going to get into that.
I loved the whole day.
All right. So Carson and Hashimoto Concepts, they asked us this. Good finds at the tackle swap. Any good finds?
100%.
So why don't you start talking and I'll start pulling some stuff out, and then as I talk, you can pull some stuff out of your bag.
Sounds good.
So you start talking.
So the tackle swap, again, so people don't, hopefully you made it over there if you were at the show. There were two different buildings. If you weren't at the show, the tackle swap is exactly what it sounds like. It's not professional vendors. It's average Joes, or even some pros and stuff will be there. People selling some old stock, people selling their grandfather's old gear. So you're getting a lot of these older baits and they're used. Sometimes they're new in box. And
I got a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah, we got some new stuff. And generally, the price point on this stuff, you can't beat it. It's fantastic. And you get to pick through these bins and look at what you want.
And there's tons of stuff.
There's lots.
We went through 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
Like
they kept pulling more out because as you walk through, you look. If you went through it once, you miss out. I can promise you. Because you walk through, and these vendors, they have extra tackle boxes underneath their table.
Yeah, and they'll pull
and
out
they have
more.
to wait for space in their table. So once stuff sells, they bring out more, and it comes back up. You're like, oh, I didn't even see that. So we went through a few times, and every single time, I bought something else.
Yeah, true. But to be fair, if you want to get the best deals at the tackle swap, you got to be first. You got to be some of the first guys in line. There was stuff like really, like stuff that you'd really want, and we were there early, and we pretty much beelined it right to the tackle swap area just to be first. Not first, like there was a whole bunch of people in front of us. Like Andrew has a whole bag there. He's just going through. So I didn't buy a ton of stuff at the tackle swap area, but I did buy a bunch of key items. I was specifically looking for specific things, and for me, it was musky baits, and there was a lot of vendors there that had quite a few.
Forgive the rustling you're gonna hear in all this, just because I'm just rifling through a bag chuck full of fishing stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully not impaling himself. Now, we did buy a lot of stuff, but I'd say I'm only going to show like 4 or 5 baits, and Andrew's going to do the same, just because we don't have time in this podcast to go through everything that we got, because it would be literally a 4-hour podcast at that point. So the first bait, Andrew, what's the first bait you got at the tackle swap that you were just like blown away that you found?
That would be this one. This is the Power Bait Blade Dancer.
I remember seeing those like years ago.
I remember seeing these, on the Fish in Canada show and commercials and stuff like that. I don't think it predates the chatterbait, but it's a very similar product to the chatterbait. So it's basically a bladed jig, but it's more designed to travel through the water. It's not a true jig head on it. It's made out of like steel and like a hook. It comes with its own power bait trailers. I don't know. It's old, but it was killer at the time. Like it slayed fish. So I'm really hoping. I was excited to find it because I never owned one, and I always wanted one when I was looking through the catalogs and stuff. And
that's a good example of like the Tackle Swap has a lot of stuff that it's not on the market anymore, and you can find the stuff, and usually brand new in the package at the Tackle Swap.
And exactly, this is brand new. It comes with its original 4 trailer baits. The skirt's in great condition still, like never been used. It's perfect. Yeah, I think it was like $5.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it cost $7 new.
All right, my first find. The first thing I bought was I was looking for muskie baits, and if you're familiar with muskie baits at all, you probably have heard of the dive and rise bait called a suic. And I was looking for suics, but there's another version it's been around for decades as well, called the bobby bait. And the bobby bait is a dive and rise bait. And you know, they're popular in the States. They have kind of a little cult following. They're not as popular as the suic, but I know like a lot of, you know, guys like Gord Pizer uses them too.
Yep.
He's the one that turned me on to these. And I found one in this guy's box, and it was literally, it's brand new. It's never been used. Like it looks like it's older. It's a weighted
it's cedar, it's wood,
9-inch suic or bobby bait, dive and rise bait, and it doesn't have a single hook rash or tooth mark on it. And this one I think was like, the guy wanted $20, which honestly these are like $45-$50. And I actually was looking for suics as well, and I did find a guy who had a brand new suic. There was a bunch of guys with suics, but this one was the best.
Jesse has precariously laid a bunch of musky trebled hook baits right across his lap, and he's just trying to pick them up and show them.
I'm a professional. Yeah, this suic here, this is a high impact plastic suic. It's a 9-inch. It's the baby duck color, which is cool. Hooks are razor sharp. It's never been used. Guess how much I paid for this? $10.
That's crazy.
These are $35 to $40 at the local shops.
And you can still buy essentially that same bait today.
Yeah, 100%. But it's $35 to $40. Yeah. I got it for $10. Actually, there was this one vendor, I don't know his name, but he had a whole bunch of musky stuff, and he had them like in lines on his table, and there was a whole line of them, and I was like, how much are those? He's like, oh, they're $10 each, or you know, or 5 for 40 or something. And I just grabbed a whole row and threw it into my bag. And the other bait, so that was the suic. He also had in the same row an 8-inch Jake, which is a crankbait or twitch bait for muskie. It does have a lot of hook rash on it, but it's got a lot of good shape. The hooks are still good.
Yep.
For $10, can't beat it, right?
Yep.
And then the last bait I got that I'll tell you about is this, and I've been looking for one of these for a long time. This is a hog wobbler.
Yes.
Which is one of the coolest musky topwaters. It's a wake bait with a propeller on the back, and it's jointed, and it makes a lot of noise when you reel it in. And it's an 8-inch or 7-inch model for $10.
Yep.
I was literally blown away. Like, these things are expensive. And they were selling them for $10. I was floored, man. So I was happy.
I got a musky bait as well from the Tackle Swap. This is handmade cedar lure. It's from it's Leo Lures from Pennsylvania, new in box.
Cool.
But yeah, it's the Leo musky dog, and yeah, like it's a sick looking musky bait.
Looks like it might
built
be a
really
good
well.
Trolling bait.
But yeah, it's I'm not sure. It looks like it's going to dive fairly deep. The size of that lip, it's got a similar look to a Super Cisco or
metal
something
lip.
like that.
Yeah.
And the lip is thick. Like, that's 20 gauge steel.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, but again, brand new. It's perfect condition. Like, I 100% see myself catching something on that. And again, this was my last purchase of the day. I had $17 burning a hole in my pocket. And I was like, I was running through as the guys are packing up their tables. And I'm like, all right, I saw this and I'm like, I want it. I decided to get it. And he was asking $20 for it. I'm like, look, I had this much left. He's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, perfect.
And it's good because you can haggle with them.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a store. You can literally be like, I only have $5, or I'll give you $5 or $10 for this. And usually they're like, yeah, that's fine, because a lot of these guys have so much stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of, like, we're not going to go on forever with the tackle swap, but if you go to Cancast next year, the tackle swap area is definitely one of the areas that you want to hit.
Yeah.
Like, ASAP.
The cool thing, too, is, like Jesse was saying, finding stuff that isn't made anymore. So the one I've been looking for a while is like the Beano is a classic lure, but this is like the Beano eel style. So it has 4 segments in it. And yeah, like I found this one. It's got like hook guards on it. It was open box. They had a couple new in box of these ones as well for a bit more. But I was like, I just want one to use. So hey, I got this one. Another one too is the weedless shad. I didn't want to buy one of these full price in the store, but I've wanted to try one for years. So I saw one. I saw it was for cheap. I was like, all right, I'll get one here. It's perfect.
You'll blow tons of money if you have it.
And again, the last thing I got there was the Terminator Titanium Thumper, which is like a shallow running spinner bait. But I haven't seen those in stores for a while.
I haven't seen those for years.
But again, there's a couple baits. There's 3 baits right there that you literally can't buy in stores anymore. But I've wanted to try them and I haven't before, or I either liked them from before and want to get them again.
100%. So like that's the thing. You can find amazing stuff.
The tackle swap is a big part of why the Cancast show is special.
It is 100%. And there are lots of other tackle swaps all around, but this one, it's been consistently good the last 2 years that we've went. Like I found stuff that I was just blown away by how cheap it was.
Yeah.
Inexpensive, I mean. But anyway, we're gonna ramble because like we spent a lot, especially Andrew. I was like, by the time he lost his voice, he couldn't do social media stuff anymore. So I was just like, just go to the tackle swap and look around. And he slinked away without his voice. Like, okay, thank you. Yeah, thanks.
I'm gesturing like, is that for sale?
Anyway, so next question is Ryan asks, what did you get? So we're going to kind of cover some of the things that we bought if Andrew's making way too much noise.
I have a massive pile of stuff beside me.
So we're not going to cover everything we got, but we're going to cover some of the stuff that we got not in the tackle swap area. So why don't we go kind of like item at a time? And I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Because, I said so. One bait that I got, and I'm really excited, and I've been a fan of this brand for a long time, Water Wolf Lures. Mike from Water Wolf Lures. I've never met the guy before until the Cancast. He is the nicest guy I've ever met.
He is so cool.
He's so nice. And he's just like, hey, yeah, come on in. And we were filming some little social media videos and stuff. And I put a microphone, mic on his
Lapel,
shirt. And I was like, yeah, talk about your stuff. And he's just there. And I said to him, I've never used a musky tube. And, we're getting into musky fishing more. And he's like, oh, yeah, I'll set you up. Let me, what color? Like, I was like, you tell me the size and the color. Like, you're the pro. I'm just beginning. So he showed me the color that he would get if he was me. And he picked out this really cool color. And you know what? I'm going to be honest.
And he rigged it up right on set, like right
him and his wife, super nice. And it's not a color that I personally would have picked, but it's a color that he knows kills. And it's actually cool. It's a green pumpkin shad color. So it's a 9-inch gator tube. It's a big tube. It's got 3 treble hooks on it. It's got this like internal rig. The bottom is white and it's got gold flake and black flake in it. And it literally it looks sick. And he's like, that color in the Corthas is a killer. And I was like, I trust you. So I got those.
They look amazing.
And I ended up going back after and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get another color because you have to have 2 colors. So I was like, what's the second color you'd buy for the Corthas? And he picked out this walleye color, which, it's more of like a transparent gold with walleye looking eyes and gold flake. But Mike was really legit. We've been using his Shadzilla Juniors for a few years now, and they're killer. So I'm excited to try that out. If you've never tried Water Wolf baits, they're fantastic quality. They catch fish. And as soon as I posted that I bought these tubes, I had all these musky guys be like, oh man, that's a killer. That's a killer. And that just made me feel so confident in the bait already. But that's a cool one. And if you ever see Mike from Water Wolf Lures, super nice guy. Definitely say hi. He's super
and Pick is bringing about some stuff. Super knowledgeable.
We were like, tell us all your secrets. And he's like, oh, okay. But anyway, super nice guy. So that was one thing that I got that I was really excited for. I have a lot of soft plastics and way too many. And the problem is there's a lot of brands, like usually when people get into selling their own brand in fishing, they're going to make soft plastics. That's like the main thing people do. So we did end up going around and buying a lot of soft plastics to support, our social media friends. And I ended up buying about 30 bags of plastics at Cancast.
To go along with this 200 of bags of plastic.
You go, I'm at True North Baits, I buy 4 bags. I'm at Pro Water Baits, I buy 4 bags. I'm at Wham Baits, I buy 4 bags. I'm at Limestone Lures, I buy 4 bags. Like, it's all good stuff that I'm going to use anyway.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a lot of stuff. So some of the brands, like for instance, Limestone Lures, you have that one there.
Yeah, got a big swim.
It's like a 6-inch swim bait.
Swim bait, yeah. I love it because it's like a largemouth bass, like baby bass color almost. But
I got some. He makes like a 3.5 or 4-inch like white swim bait. That's gonna be sick. Yep. Got some drop shot baits from Limestone Lures as well. Another guy, so Jeff from Limestone Lures, super nice guy. His booth looked fantastic too.
Yep.
Wham Baits. Wham Baits is Wes from Wham Baits. He's a super salt of the earth, just super nice guy, and he has a whole bunch. The thing about Wham Baits is he has a lot of molds that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
So he has this one called the Whamphibian. It's like a frog, but it's very different than I've seen before. We'll post some pictures on our social, and it's 100% going to catch fish. When you see a bait sometime and you're like, I'm going to catch fish on that. I know. There's no doubt. I know it's going to happen. That's the amphibian for me.
Even this, I got from him as well. I got the 4-inch flapping, which, if I describe it, it's like a twister tail grub, but with a paddle tail bottom end. Like it's just mixing those two baits, and I think that's going to be absolutely killer for like flipping and pitching and stuff, or even as a trailer. I would love to use this as a trailer because I like especially chatterbait trailers and stuff. I liked personally to have the chatterbait impart the action to the soft plastic. So I think, in my experience, not that I have a whole lot of it, but if I'm using a swim bait on a chatterbait, it can sometimes diminish the amount of vibration.
Yeah. It doesn't allow the body to swing as much.
If you have a soft plastic trailer that isn't going to, encumber that vibration of that chatterbait, then it's going to be moving around like crazy because that chatterbait itself is moving around like crazy. So I like very streamlined and simplistic trailers on my chatterbait. So I think that's going to be absolutely awesome.
It does look good. Another brand we talked about, True North Baits, huge brand. They're doing well. They have a bunch of new molds that I had to try. One of them that I really had to try is their rush worm. It's like a speed worm. It's just like I think it's a 6-inch. It's got a little cut tail in the back. That's going to be fantastic for, those areas you fish where it's like sparse weeds and some rocks, and just chuck out a worm.
Yeah. Just
slowly reel it, let it go through. And when you get to a nice juicy spot, just let it sink to the bottom, hop it on the bottom, and then just keep reeling. It's a good bait to cover. And they haven't had this before. And I bought June bug, which is purple. I also bought green pumpkin because you can't not have that. Another brand that I've never bought their stuff and I've really slept on them. I've seen them at East Hill. Is Pro Water Baits. Yeah. And I met Vic, the owner, and he was super nice. And he immediately started talking to me about fishing for the green fish and the thick stuff. So instantly I was like, hey, buddy. So I'm not a huge finesse smallie guy. I love flip and slop. And this guy, you check out his YouTube too. They flip slop. They're fishing thick, heavy cover. And he was like, oh, you fish, you flip. And I was like, yeah. And I bought 5 bags of his stuff. His stuff looks fantastic. It's all custom made. Like, these are not molds that you'll see anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And one that's pretty cool is he had this new bait called the Water Dog. And check that out. He said you can flip it, you can punch it, you can fish it on almost anything. Yeah. You could use it as a trailer. I'll post some pictures of this.
It's got such a thick body and then such very
thin, wispy
fine
tail.
Yeah, very fine.
It's more of a subtle bait, but you can even punch this because it's streamlined. It'll shoot through. But I'm excited to try his stuff. I bought 5 or 6 bags of his stuff. It looks really good. It's all handmade in Ontario.
Yeah. So going from soft plastics into hard baits, I got a couple. Some of the hard baits that I got there, I got a couple lures there at Peterborough Pro Tackle was there, so I went in that booth.
They had some good deals.
Yeah.
So actually, they had some deals that I didn't even see, and I saw everyone walking around with these Tattoo Elite rods. I was like, why is everyone carrying those around? And they're like, oh, these were like $100 or something. I was like, what?
Yeah,
I go, they're all gone.
That. So, I got a new spy bait. It's something I want to try, but I got the shallow one. But it's not, again, good deals there. They give me a free pack of soft plastics as well. I got a pack of Z-Man goat toads just because I'm having a hard time trying to find them in stock in stores. So, it was nice to be able to get some of the things that I've been looking for a while but haven't been able to find in stock. But I love looking at custom baits. So the one guy, I want to talk about dangle baits for a little bit because
Carson's a gem.
He was awesome.
He's a gem of a guy.
Such a nice guy. I went back this year purposefully looking for more of his little crappie. It's the fish species. It's not the quality of bait is exceptional. So his little crappie crankbaits, because I killed on it on my BFS rod last year. So I really wanted to get more small, very, very well painted and good tackle style crankbaits. And his hooks, they're finesse, they're fine, but the hooks that this guy uses are fantastic. I don't feel like I have the need. I'm not going to change the hooks because I'm not going to get better hooks on there.
I change hooks on almost every normal lure like jerkbaits that I buy, but he uses good hooks. I don't even think about it.
And so same thing. Jesse and I got a few packs of these.
His feathered trebles.
But his feathered trebles, he hand ties every single one of them.
And they're better than the Berkeley or Gamakatsu ones you can buy
Way
at the
better.
store. Way better.
And the hook quality is insane. Again, he even has some trailer hooks as well, some single trailer hooks, which are awesome. I'm going to tip a couple of. I'm going to try it on a chatterbait actually.
And that's unique. I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
That's
I've never seen
fantastic.
a feathered like Siwash hook, like stinger hook.
Yep.
That's what it is. A stinger hook.
Adds a little flash. Adds a little color.
I can't wait for that. But yeah, even like big top waters. No, Jesse's got one here, but
I have this Storm Arashi cover pop.
Yep.
One of my favorite poppers, and I needed a new treble hook for it, and I put one of his number 2 feathered trebles, and literally, it matches this
it
lure
matches
exactly.
so good. Yeah,
Not that it matters, but like it looks so good. But yeah, like he does a fantastic. He's like an artist.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are amazing, and so yeah, we got I think 4 packs each of his hooks.
Yeah, we
alone.
bought a bunch.
Yeah.
Thankfully, he still had some left because like when we went back later in the day, they were pretty much all gone.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, dude, like these sold really good. I was like, because they're good.
Yeah.
And they
They're
weren't
amazing.
expensive at
No,
all.
I think
When
it was
he told me how
2
much they
packs
were.
for 8. I was like,
yeah, I
I'll
would have
take a bunch.
charged more. I would have charged more, man.
Yeah.
Another booth we hit, Perfect Jig. Always a pleasure seeing Brendan. The guy has everything you need for bass fishing, like frogs, jigs, obviously tons of jigs, plastics. And he had a sick deal. He always has this deal on in the trade shows. It's the frog, the Perfect Jig frog, which is basically your standard high producing size frog. He has a compact one and a normal size one.
Yeah.
And it's like buy one get one free.
But his frogs, even though they might look like your standard frog, he does use good tackle.
Yeah.
A good terminal tackle.
Oh, they're
in
good.
it. So
Must
that's
that ultra
what
point
makes them
hook,
superior.
And it has a tungsten weight inside.
Yes. Yeah. So you're getting
It's a top
the
quality
luxury items with features of it that you don't get on your run of the mill frog, but you're getting it for the same price. Like
Yeah, about 2
you
for
can't beat
1.
it. Yeah.
So if I was to buy one of these like brand name frogs, it'd be the same price if I bought 2 of these.
Yeah.
And honestly, I had a ton of frogs. Otherwise, I probably would have bought 4 of them for the price of 2.
I did get a frog there as well because they were having if you bought scum frog at the booth there, I think it was Peterborough Pro Tackle
Or Pro J.
or it was Pro J.
Yeah.
So yeah, Pro J. If you bought scum frogs there, you go to the scum frog booth after, and they would give you a free muff. Or if you bought 3 frogs, you get a free frog on the side. So I got some scum frogs because it's my favorite frog brand myself. But
Oh yeah, no, they're great. frogs.
they got the launch extra small now. So
I'm
excited
not
for
loyal
that.
when it comes to frogs. We lose a lot because of muskie and pike, so I just go through them like crazy. Another booth, great to see him there for the first time, was Blackfly Lures. He had all of his stuff, and he actually had the spinnerbait, the purple color,
Yep.
which looks sick. Like this is a color that'll kill.
Yeah.
Definitely check that out. He has
He also
the
gave
new.
us-
That's a new color too.
Yep.
It's the banana color.
Yeah.
So if you're not superstitious, then that might be a good one for you.
I'm not at all.
No, I'm not either.
I also picked up while I was there. Well, I saw this and I wanted something like bright, not audacious. So I thought this like purple and fluorescent orange would be sick.
Yeah.
But I love like micro spinner baits.
And
I just think like a small morsel, and I love it. And I tell you why I like his spinner baits is because the frame that he uses. I found a lot of the time with spinner baits, it's an open eye.
Yep.
He has it. It's a closed eye. It's twisted and
So you can use
set
a
up.
snap.
So you can use a snap, and it's not sliding up the arm of the spinner bait. It instantly starts spinning every time. Like that's what I look for in a spinner bait. Is I want it to have a closed eye, and so that has again like just a small like bite-sized spinner bait like that.
Perfect for crappie or finesse bass.
Yeah,
perfect.
Smallmouth bass and stuff, and they'll inhale this whole thing because it's like a more finesse version of a chatterbait essentially presentation. Because they run pretty deep because again it doesn't have a big blade that's keeping up either.
For sure. Now we're rambling, so we gotta speed it up a bit. All right, next question. Eddie Fields 93 says, "What did you buy that you're most excited to use?" Now, for me, I know what Andrew's gonna say because he bought a cool bait. But I wouldn't say this is the most excited that I am, but I'm really excited. We went to Blind Rage Baits. The guy talked her ear off, believe me, about his baits, and they're very well designed. He had these, I think they're called the River Pirate. It's a chatterbait, but it's heavy. I actually weighed it on my scale at home.
Yeah.
And I think this is it's over an ounce and a half.
If he's listening, he'll appreciate this because this is what he did first the show. Just listen to this.
It's got rattles on it.
It's got spider rattles on these things. So it's not only has a chatterbait, it also has rattles.
They're very cool
It's-
baits,
yeah.
and we pick these up not for bass, but for pike and muskie.
Yeah, they look sick.
It's kind of like the size difference of a big blade chatterbait, but way heavier.
Yeah.
So it'll be great for fishing deeper.
I think it's an even bigger blade slightly bigger than the big blade.
Yeah. It's gonna, for me,
Yeah.
that's gonna be a really key early muskie, like early season muskie.
Jesse and I have looked into what it would take for us to try and make just our own, because we wanted a chatterbait that was slightly bigger,
and now we found one.
and then we found him. Like, oh, sweet.
So
we
I'm
don't
not
have
gonna
to
make
put that effort in.
Yeah. Anyway, he was cool. So that's my bait.
My favorite bait. I have to mention.
Okay.
So, Hashimoto Concepts. I have wanted one of his baits since last year, and I didn't have a whole bunch of money to like spend on one bait. Next year I'm gonna be saving up, but I got the mag blade. So this has like a magnet on top for the rear treble that holds it there. He gave a couple extra magnets as well in the box.
Yeah.
Like he's like, if it shouldn't come out, but if the magnet pops out, he's like, there's 2 more in there, you can glue them in. It's like, I wouldn't expect that, but just those little things is like, it shows the care and quality this guy puts into his baits,
And
that he wants to make sure,
It's amazing.
that he wants to make sure that you're satisfied with it. Like all the individual like hook point keepers here, the paint job on this is
Amazing.
insane. Like, this is what I saw this exact one on Instagram, and I saw he showed it on one of his posts, and I messaged him like, I want that one.
Yeah.
And he set it aside for me at the show. He had it like under the table. I'm so pumped to use this bait.
And it's like it's a little like a small glide bait.
Yeah.
But it's a snack size one.
And it's something like it's his own style. It's his own version completely. He hand carves the mold, and then he pours them. He hand paints them. Like everything is all made in house pretty much. Like the effort he puts into these things, and they look incredible, and they swim incredible too. So I can't wait. Like I'm gonna be catching stuff in this year on this.
We're gonna do a day when
pumped.
we just fish small glide baits.
And I started saving again for next year to get perhaps either the Ono or maybe even the Shogun. I am so pumped about this. This is 100% what I'm most excited about from the show.
He's a legit guy, super nice. We talked to him a few times.
Yeah.
He was great. A lot of the vendors, like, we're gonna, right now, just quick, a lot of the vendors that we're not going to go into in depth, but just super nice guys. Dean from Blackfly Lures.
Yep.
Wes from Wham Baits. Who else?
You're putting me on the spot. We talked to even the guy from Goat Charter Fishing.
Yep.
Like, he was fantastic, awesome to talk to. We had talked to the guys, again, already mentioned Water Wolf Lures. Like just sitting down talking to those guys for so long was fun.
Yeah, definitely. Carson from Dangle Baits was legit.
Yeah.
Wes from Wham Baits. Jeff from Limestone Lures. Like, we couldn't talk to everyone. There were so many people. We did talk to a lot, but we could have spent hours and hours and hours talking to people.
Oh yeah.
But if we mention you by name, it's just because we probably spent more than a few minutes with you, but we did talk to a lot of people that were amazing.
If we didn't mention you by name,
it's because we don't know your name. Just kidding.
It's just because it slipped our mind right now, but we love talking to you as well, so don't worry about that.
Question: best looking booths. I thought True North Baits, their booth looked pretty good.
True North was nice.
The Hookers booth looked pretty good. The brand, not the prostitutes.
Even Limestone Lures, again, I know it was his first year there, but he pulled out all
great.
the stops. He
looked good.
Did a really nice booth for sure.
There was a lot of booths that looked fantastic.
Yeah.
And like, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but like some of the booths you look at and you're like, wow, they went full out.
And like booths like, Jesse and I were both wearing Muskie Maniacs hats, which we bought there at the show.
I was going to mention that we both bought Muskie Maniacs hats because, like, honestly, their logo and their hat, it's their particular hat they use is the one that fits my head perfectly.
Yes, myself as well.
It's
the
great.
most comfortable, like, trucker style hat I've ever worn.
Yeah.
So I had one before. This is my newest one. Jesse got one now.
Yeah.
But I expect them to have a great booth because they're used to putting up pop-up shops all over the place, right?
Yeah.
So that's something they're used to. So, best booths are going to go to, the guys that do that. Even Water Wolf Lures, that was a nice setup. It was clean. Like,
he does a lot of big musky expos and shows, though.
Yeah.
So, like, here's the thing. Don't be intimidated if you want to have a booth. You don't need to have a big fancy booth. A lot of people just had, like, a simple booth at the table on a bunch of shelves, and they did very well.
Yep.
So, next question. Dawson asks, best impulse buy. I know you bought that little thing. That little lure.
Yeah, so when I was in the Peterborough Pro Tackle, I got, I think it's the eye waiver.
So Andrew, 5 years ago, would not spend more than $10 on a lure, and now I've got him hooked on little Japanese baits that costs like almost as much as your face. So it's pretty good. If you can't find it.
There it is.
Oh, sweet.
Right, so it's the iWaver 60. So this thing, it's like just over $20. It's a Japanese lure.
It's
and
the
if you
size
wanna
of a piece of pasta.
look it up online on like YouTube as to how it runs in the water. It's definitely like a BFS bait, and I'll show you here if you can. Again, I'll describe it to you, but it looks like a small, like 2.5-inch minnow with one single treble hook on it, and it lays on its side on the surface of the water with one joint in it,
Like a dead minnow.
Yeah, and it's just got some like hair coming off the back of it. And you look at this thing in the water, and you're expecting like maybe a small jerk bait or like a darting bait. And first of all, it's all in Japanese, so you can't understand. No one in English has done a review on this.
Yeah.
And this thing is just like dragging across the surface of the water. Like its presentation is
Super
so
finesse.
subtle. But again, I love that. I think fish is going to see this and just see it like move, and it literally, this is imitating a 95% dead minnow. Like this has
An
one or
easy
two
snack.
kicks left, and it's gone. It's like freshly dead, and that's what this is imitating. So bass, whatever, are gonna just go into the surface and just pop this off the surface
Just
like nothing.
Slurp it down.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am so pumped about this.
Just like a bug.
Yeah.
That's cool. Best impulse buy for me, honestly, I spend tons of money on fishing every year, so I had everything kind of calculated out for, I'd have this much to spend at the used section or the tackle swap, and this much. I had specific things I wanted to buy. I did buy a lot of plastic bait, as I mentioned, but I didn't really buy anything crazy. I'm trying really not to, because I'll buy a lot of stuff, and now I'm trying to say, don't buy anything that I know deep down that I won't really use. Yeah. So I actually was pretty good, I'd say. Like, I spent less than I brang, and I didn't buy anything crazy. I think impulse would be going back to Water Wolf lures and buying more gator tubes, the big musky tubes, because like they were on sale for a good deal, but they weren't cheap. Like they're inexpensive at this show. I forget how much they were, $25, but I was like, oh, I need more. Just like more huge tubes that I'm hopefully going to use. But yeah. Anyway,
I think for you the biggest impulse buy is just the amount of musculars you got. But again,
that's what I went
that's
for.
Something
though.
you're looking.
I planned
to
on
get.
it.
So,
yeah. I would have bought more if I would have found more, honestly. But here's the thing: if you were at the show, you probably saw us going around filming stuff and interviewing people. We were kind of doing some media there, so we didn't have as much time as we would have liked to shop.
Yeah,
and we kind of like had to rush through shopping.
I am shocked how fast that day. Like it felt like
we were there for a long time.
It felt like a half day, and we were there for the whole day.
Yeah,
like yeah.
I had to like force Andrew to be like, we need to eat lunch.
Yeah,
like we're dying. I need some food. And at the end of the day, Andrew couldn't even talk.
Yeah,
because we were just talking our heads off. But
I kept trying though.
Yeah, he kept trying. So if you heard Andrew just wheezing in the corner, that's why. Here is the next question from Yakin and Bassin, which we actually met there. It was nice to see Warren there.
Yep.
He asked, if you had to improve Cancast, which he says hard to do in brackets, what would it be?
So I had to put some thought to this question.
Yeah, I told
Jesse
Andrew before, and I was like, think about it.
Look at this question. I was like, whoa. So 100%, it's hard to improve Cancast. I think that it would be really cool to see an American vendor, or perhaps some of the like someone like Z-Man or something like that, because I know, like, I like Z-Man products a lot, and there are some baits that I have not been able to find in Canada, like the Pop and Shad. I wanted that since it came out years ago, and I have yet to find it in a store in Canada, and I have been too lazy to order it online from the States. But to have an area, like, I know it's still going to be limited. It's going to be once a year at Cancast. I might have a chance to get something that I could normally only get in the States. I think it'd be cool to have some of those more States-oriented vendors come up with some products that, would also 100% work here in Canada. Yeah. And just have an opportunity to handle them, to look at them, to buy them. I think that'd be great.
Maybe as the show grows, because like you have to think, a company coming all the way from the States to a show in Ontario might not be worth it to them, but as the show grows, I could definitely see that happening. And I don't want to sound like a goody two shoes, because obviously, like, I was trying to think, what would I do to improve Cancast? Not much. You have to think of the facts. It's one of the biggest shows in Canada, so already it's going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. There's tons of amazing vendors. There's a tackle swap area. It was cheap entry.
Yep.
The vendors it was cheap to rent a booth. So like
Yeah.
it was good for vendors. They were making good money, and they had amazing giveaways. Like they were giving away $1,000 a day, like for 10 days before, and they were giving away all day. You'd hear like them being like, "Hey, we're giving away this prize," and blah blah blah. And they were just, people were handing out free stuff.
It was
like
awesome.
there wasn't like, I didn't go to the show and at one moment be like what the heck, like where's this, or this is dumb. Like I never thought that. And like, again, if I had thought of something that could be improved, I'd say it now, but I can't off the top of my head think of anything that I would improve.
The other thing too, I was thinking, I know timing wise, it's a great time of year to have this show put on.
Yeah.
So it's not really conducive to this thought. But if there was more outdoor space that could be utilized, that could have more vendors, even more vendors
Wow.
there, because I know that Kyle was saying that there were a few people. There's a number of people still on the waiting list. But I know too, like you were saying, to have these other companies come in, they're going to want more space than just a table to display their products. So to have a bit more space for some larger booths, because again, some of the large booths that were in the Memorial Center takes up, 3 of those booths took up half the floor.
Yeah.
Right. So you kind of missed out on seeing a lot of perhaps there's smaller guys still in there. So I think it would be cool if it was warmer weather, it'd be more conducive. But if there is an outdoor space for some of the larger booths, like a big pop-up tent, here's Peterborough Pro Tackle, and they have a whole tent outside. That'd be sick. And then you have a bit more space for other booths. But again, those are like very small little. They're not complaints. They're just things like, wouldn't it be great if this could happen? Chances are they've already thought of it, and either it can't happen or they're doing it later. So
for sure. And actually on this Instagram question I asked, Kyle Crothers, who is, if you're not aware, he's the guy that ran the whole show, him and his crew, and they did a fantastic job.
Awesome.
Like we got there in the morning, and I know like he was all stressed out and like, running around. And,
there's some,
and
the
I was
bands
just
are missing, and
everyone would be stressed at that point if you had this huge show looming over your head.
Yeah.
But by the end of the day, you could see it was like, okay, everything's going good.
Yeah.
And they did a fantastic job. They must be relieved that it's over, but they're probably already planning for the next year already. But he actually messaged and he said he can't wait to hear what everyone is talking about Cancast, like what they'd like to improve. So like that, again, don't know Kyle that well, but you can tell that he is in this. He wants to improve it. He's open to hear suggestions. He's not just some idiot that's like, no, this is the way we're going to do it. He's like, yeah, tell me what you want. Like, show me what you guys want. Tell me, and I'll improve it for next year. Like, it was a huge improvement from last year.
A suggestion on the seminars thing you mentioned before. I would love to. I know there wasn't a whole lot of seating area for the seminars, but maybe even having them on like the speakers so you could hear them even if you weren't present. Having it broadcasted, perhaps. I don't know how conducive that would be, but a couple of guys that I'd love to see, that I'd love to go watch and hear from would be Angelo Viola and Pete Bowman, like the Fishing Canada guys. I would love to see those guys do seminars at that. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, it was cool to see Bob Azumi and Big Jim was there,
and one of the Johnson
brother.
There. There was a lot of like fishing celebs, you'd say, that were 100%.
There. But I love to see like the guys that Fishing Canada guys. Yeah, like they have done tournaments as well, but they cater more to like we cater to average anglers. Yeah, because that's what we are. And I feel like those guys really fit that niche as well. So it's not just a bunch of, pros giving tournament tips, but these guys, here's how to get more fish in your boat tips. Yeah, 100%. In general. I have a soft spot for those guys because I know Angelo always hates when people say this, but I grew up watching those guys.
Yeah. I remember going into Barclays when I was young, when he was still there, and I would see Angelo and Reno Viola all the time, and I remember. One time I said, "Oh, I saw you on TV," to Reno Viola, and he's like, "Oh, were you watching Cops?" My dad's like, "Oh." Anyway, so like the show was fantastic. I wouldn't like obviously they probably have all these ideas. Like Kyle probably is already planning for the future of this, but like I wouldn't really change anything. It was fantastic. Everyone got in really quick.
I would not be disappointed if it went back next year and they had the same booze they had this year.
Oh, it was great.
Like it was fantastic. So I'm not going to feel disappointed or gypped if it's not supposedly like bigger and better next year. It was huge this year. Yeah, it was great.
The next question was, has Kyle asked you to be MCs for 2024 yet? No comment. He hasn't. Tear, cry face. Just kidding. If that happens in the future, maybe we'll see what happens. But we had a great time just walking around, honestly.
Yeah. It was cool. I know like Kyle brought us in for a little bit of media beforehand
Yep.
to be able to see, and that was nice because you had a bit of, you could talk to some of the vendors without their booths being full of people.
Yeah.
And you know, I always feel bad. I didn't want to prevent customers from coming in and them making sales. So I know like I know they appreciate talking to people as well, but at the same time I don't want to talk a guy's ear off for 20 minutes and then
Yeah, if he's trying to sell
and
stuff
he can't sell stuff,
and you're just standing there yattering at him.
yeah.
He's
But
just
it
like,
was
yeah.
it was really nice to be able to kind of see the setup and a little bit of the setup and talk to some of the guys before the show started, and that was nice.
Yeah, so to be used in that capacity, to get in a little early, like to get the vendor passes, get in early, and take some pictures and video and social media. Like we did not that much. Like
Yeah.
we did it quite a bit, but like not as much as I wanted to do, just because it was so busy and I couldn't. Again, I felt bad like being like, hey, you want to film a 30-second video, and they had all these customers in their booth.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic to be able to do that, and next year I would love to do that again to a bigger extent, because we actually have like wireless mics now and like some good stuff. I feel like we got some good content, because that's what we're here for, is to make
I'd love to be a part of that show to help, if so, that we could help improve it or help make it a success again.
Yeah,
that would be fantastic.
Yeah, and again, we'll be there next year, 100%. Last question: did you spend more than you expected? I didn't, honestly. I my self-control was like 100% on. I was just like, I wanted to, but I didn't.
I knew that I definitely wanted to spend more. I went in there with so much cash in my wallet, like a limited amount. I'm like, I can only spend stuff in cash today. That's it. The only thing I spent extra, I think, was the food that we bought there.
That's a good technique.
Which wasn't much, but I just brought cash. And the one booth I spent more than I expected to was, I can't remember his name, but he sells vintage lures. And so I got, I met him last year, super nice guy. He actually, at the end of the show, I went back to his booth just to look at more of his vintage stuff as he was closing up. And I saw a Smithwick's Devil's Horse, which I've wanted for years. And I was talking to him about that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just looking, though. I don't have any more money. And he's like, you know what? You bought stuff from me last year. You bought a bunch of stuff from me this year. Why don't you just take that? I was like, it was fantastic. Like, just, again, it was a small gesture, from his part, but it meant a lot to me because I've wanted one of these things for years, and I literally ran out of cash, and I told myself I can't spend any more. So I was out of money, but I already got, some, like a Meadow Mouse, which I know Jesse has fond memories of.
Yeah.
The Meadow Mouse. I got the Zara Mouse, which was the weedless version of it.
Never heard of that before.
No, neither had I, but I saw it. I'm like, that looks sick. And then it's not the original slope nose, but it is the head, and it's the 210 surface. So it's like the second generation or style of the head and slope nose, which I'm still on the lookout for. But that was one of the first topwater like hard baits ever made and cool. Sold.
It's an interesting looking lure.
Yeah, it's so I wanted to get one just because I want to see how they run in the water, because I can't find stuff online about these things either. So I love looking for the vintage baits just for the historical aspect of it. But I have I got a soft spot for the old baits.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so that was a highlight for me. But I spent more in that booth getting these baits than I thought I would, because we had some really cool ones that I didn't see last year.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing. Like, I talked to a lot of guys that spend tons of money there, and I talked to a lot of guys that they walked around, they bought one or two things, and they were happy just looking around, because you could look around there for hours. Like, there were some people that were like, I've walked through this place like 4 times, and I just keep going back and forth from building to building because I keep seeing new stuff. I'm like, that's literally what we did.
That's what you're
we were in
supposed
the main
to do.
building, went back to the other building, back and forth 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And like, I didn't even get to talk to half the amount of people that I wanted to. Yeah. And we lost our voice because we talked so much. Like, there was hundreds of booths there.
Oh, someone else we didn't mention that we like talking to too is they had the Robros there. They had
Creek Candy.
Yep. Kitefish. Right,
yep. Matt's there.
Yeah, so that was cool to see them too.
And yeah, when we bumped into Randy, who is the podcast sponsor this week, he was just like, hey, you got stuff for a giveaway.
Yeah.
He's like, here, and he gave us this big bag, and we're going to draw that giveaway in a sec. Another guy that actually, just to whet your appetite, that gave us stuff for the giveaway was Brendan at Perfect Jig, and he gave us a pretty sick giveaway. But we're not going to talk about that. That's top secret right now.
Yeah.
But we're actually going to do...
Stay tuned for that, though. You'll want to.
That's going to be in June. So we're going to do the giveaway. So the Creek Candy giveaway, it's 20 packs of beads, 2 bead boxes, and 2 stickers. The stickers are pretty cool too. Actually, I wanted to steal them, but I'm just kidding.
We'll need to message him and just get a couple extra for ourselves.
How many entries did we have?
I believe it's 40 entries we have today.
That's not bad. 40 entries in like 10 hours.
Yeah.
So pretty interesting. And I know some of these giveaways right now, they're very niche. Like people are only going to enter if they steelhead fish.
Yeah. And so yeah, this again, I know a lot of people, they don't steelhead. We try and do the giveaways in a timely manner, like when it makes sense. So right now, like trout season is
openers this weekend coming, like next
is
weekend.
just happening. So, it's a good time to give away this stuff. Stuff like for bass, like jigs and stuff like that, perfect jig. Yeah, it's going to be closer to bass opener. So stay tuned. Don't get discouraged if you're not seeing stuff that you actually like or that you would use, or
it's
branch
coming.
out. Try. This is your opportunity to win something. Now try a whole new version of fishing that you haven't tried before.
Yeah.
But we are going to have a variety of giveaways. It's not all trout stuff. So
yeah, actually, we have some pretty cool giveaways. We're actually going to talk about after the giveaway. We're going to talk about some of the future episodes that are coming up. But so the giveaway we had, and we have it in what's it called, the random wheel of random names or something.
Yes, wheel of names.
So if you entered and guessed the correct answer, which was Atlantic salmon, and you messaged us on our Instagram, that's the only way to enter right now. You're now in the draw. So Andrew is going to spin it. This is as legit as it is. It's not rigged. Hopefully we can pronounce the name. I can't pronounce that.
Castuano. CSTUIONO. You have won.
So
the Creek Candy giveaway. We'll show that. We'll display that. We'll send a post as well on our Instagram to let you know that you've won. But
your name is probably on your account. It's just we only write down the Instagram accounts. Yeah. So congratulations to that. We'll get in contact with you and ship it out quick so you can get it before opener.
And remember, you can keep it for yourself, but it's also a great opportunity to be a friendly guy and share it with someone else.
And if you didn't win, a lot of people, they ask me, they're like, did I win the giveaway? Hey, you got to listen to the podcast to see if you won. And unfortunately, you're not going to win every giveaway. It is a random draw. We don't choose who, like, I don't even know who that is.
Yep.
Whoever it is, congratulations.
Yeah. But yeah, keep trying. There's always a chance. If you put it in there, you have a chance. If you don't, you don't.
That's the way it is. Anyway, we'd like to thank our podcast sponsor again, Randy at Creek Candy Beads. And I thought we would just quickly whet your appetite for some of the podcasts that are coming up. Because like what I did is like when people message me about the podcast, which I'm not even joking, happens all the time. They're like, oh, it's great. I listened to it at the gym. Like, I like this. I always say, like, what can we do to make it better? Because, like, we're here to make content that's enjoyable. And, like, we want to hear what people want, like, what topics you want to hear, what, different stuff you want to hear. And a lot of people have sent me suggestions, and some of them become interesting fishing facts and some of them are going to be main topics. But these are some of the topics that are coming up just to whet your appetite. So today's was about Cancast, which, that's more of, like, a thing that we had to do because we had so much to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't just have that in as an intro because we knew we'd talk about it for a whole podcast.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like this podcast is probably the longest one we've ever done.
Yeah.
So next week, what are you doing, Andrew?
So next week, it's going to be on fishing myths and kind of
lore?
Creatures. Yeah, lore. So things like cryptids and stuff like that, but local to the Ontario area.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And then that's April 24th. And then May 1st, we actually have a pike fish. Like we did an early pike fishing episode a few back. This is going to be a legit pike fishing episode for, May and June and throughout the year. So we're going to do a pike fishing. We have a really good giveaway for that one coming.
That giveaway is insane.
And actually the giveaway next week is pretty sick too.
Yeah.
And then May 8th, we have a carp fishing episode with a special guest.
I can't wait for carp again this spring. I keep
they're
forgetting, and all of a sudden I'm like, carp, I want to go out.
the hardcore carp guys are catching them already.
Yeah.
We have a carp episode coming up with a special guest. Actually, our first guest.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, our first guest.
And then May 15th, this is the last one I'm going to tell you about. Actually, the second last one, because the next one after that is cool too. This is planned. Our giveaways and episodes are planned well into summer, believe me. If you want to sponsor a giveaway, message me ASAP because I'm booked well into summer already.
Yeah.
So let me know.
And again, like I said before, with our giveaways, we try and do them when they make sense.
Yeah.
We're not going to give away, trout beads in the middle of summer.
Yeah. So some of the giveaways coming up are going to be.
But yeah, so some of these ones, they're booked out that far because guys have messaged us 2 months ago and it's like, hey, I want to do a bass giveaway. Okay, bass season is June. We'll do it then.
Yeah, or a little bit before. Yeah, something like that.
So if you're thinking of something for, during the summer, we still have some stuff for summer.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of stuff for the fall, Like, let's say you do musky bait, something like that, and you want to, I want to do a giveaway for a musky bait or something like that.
Let us know ASAP.
Let us know, because we want to get you in that timeline, in that time slot as well, because that makes most sense for all of our listeners and all that stuff as well.
For sure. So the next episode after the carp fishing one is going to be called Shore Fishing Success. And it's all about shore fishing, which I grew up doing.
Yep, me too.
And another cool giveaway for that one. They're all cool. Like, I don't do dumb giveaways on this podcast. They're all good. And then the last one I'm going to tell you about is May 22nd.
Okay.
Because I'm stoked for muskie season. Like, stoked. Which is first weekend in June or something like that.
Yeah.
Muskie Madness. And we have a guest too.
That's awesome.
Muskie guest. So I'm excited about that. But anyway, this podcast, like, you know what? If you've listened to this point, you probably went to Cancast and you're interested to see our thoughts on it and what we got and all that kind of stuff. If you didn't go to Cancast, highly recommend you go next year. It is not an event that you'll regret going to, even if it's far. Like, we talked to people that drove from London to Peterborough, or like Ottawa.
Yep.
Several people from Ottawa. Actually, we met a few guys from Ottawa, and they were like, hey, how's it going? And I didn't know who they were. And, we had good conversations, and they were happy. They're like, yeah, we drove all this way, and it was fantastic.
Yep.
So, like, if you're willing to drive legit 3-4 hours to get to a fishing show, and they said it was worth it, believe me, if it's only an hour or two to get to Cancast, just go.
Yep.
It'll be worth it.
Yeah. If you live anywhere from, like, downtown Toronto heading east out to, even Kingston, Peterborough is really not that far away, or Belleville, let's say. Yeah. It's less than 2 hours away from you.
I would
and
hitchhike.
That is fantastic. Like, it's not far, because for me to go to a spot down in Toronto to go to the Sportsman Show, and I live, in Durham region, it's going to take me over an hour to drive there.
Through traffic.
To me, an hour and a half, and then I got to park, and then I got to walk 3 blocks. Like,
yeah, that's true.
And I got to pay, $30 for parking, and I got to pay $35 to get into the show, and then I've already spent half my budget. So it's worth it. Cancast, it's worth it.
Anyway, so we really enjoyed Cancast. We're gonna do the giveaway for our next podcast coming up soon. So make sure the way you enter is you have to make sure you follow us on our Instagram account. If you're not watching us on YouTube, we're also on YouTube, and all of our podcasts are video podcasts as well. So you can watch and you can see some of the lures that we use. So definitely check that out. Even if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple and you want to see the lures, just shoot back onto our YouTube and check them out. But anyway, that's all for today, and we're excited for the next podcast. So we will see you next week.